Hello everyone. Have you ever noticed that when you open a link on YouTube, it takes to a correct video? Same way, when you click a product link on Amazon, it opens that exact product. And when you visit someone's Instagram profile, it shows the right person. How does that happen? The answer is simple but powerful concept called path parameters. Today, you will learn what path parameters are, why they are important, and how to use them in FastAPI. You will also see how FastAPI automatically checks the data you receive and learn about a common routing mistake that many beginners make. So, I am Punyakeerthi and this video is part of my FastAPI for Generative AI series where we learn FastAPI step by step. Simple explanations, practical examples for building AI applications. So, let's get started. Let's start with introduction. When building APIs, we often need to retrieve specific piece of information. Imagine you have hundreds of blog posts which are stored in database. How does the API know which blog the user wants? The answer is path parameters. Path parameters allow us to send values directly as part of the URL. Fast API captures these values automatically and makes them available inside our Python function. By the end of this lesson, we will understand what parameters are, why they are useful, how to create them in FastAPI, etc. etc. Let's start with understanding what are path parameters. According to the definition, a path parameter is a variable that becomes part of the URL. For example, in our here blog ID, here the ID is the path parameter. Instead of creating the separate URLs for every blog, product or user, we create a dynamic URL. So here you are able to see for 4 blocks we have 4 URLs. But if we create one root blog and we accept the ID as the variable, so whenever someone visits blog of 5, what happens? FastAPI captures that value 5 and passes it to the function, and whatever logic we write inside the function, it will start executing. Let's understand with real world example. Imagine you are visiting a hotel. The hotel has one reception desk. So instead of having one desk for every room, so reception will ask only the room number. Okay, which room number you want. So the room number changes every time. The desk will be remain same. In the same way, the API asks the variable or path parameter. Okay, which blog ID you want to access. So the ID may get changes, but the root remains the same. One root like multiple path parameters or path parameters are changes. We can access multiple or millions of blocks using one router. Let's understand with visual representation. Client request blog of 1, that means blog 1 you need to access. Then fast API route, what it will do, blog of ID will be written. So that ID is a variable, we can call it as path parameter, which is assigned with whatever value we have passed. In our example, 1 is passed. So when ID is equal to 1, Python function executes whatever logic we implemented in the function that started executing. In this way, the flow will be executed when we call the URL, FastAPI URL with path parameter. So let's start creating your first path parameter. Before that, let's understand some basics. So what I have did, if you want to create your virtual, I have created main.py. If you want to create an virtual environment, you can use like this. Then you can activate the virtual environment like this. Then you can install your fast API. I already installed my fast API. So how to run? You can run like this. Unicon main.reload. I will take this and I'm in the same path. I'm running. So when I run that, so you are able to see here HTTP 1200. Here the path route is slash. So if I use this, I will go to my postman and here 127.800 where the same thing you have to access plus control to quit. Okay, so when I hit, now you are able to see message welcome to fast API. My fast API is ready. Now I want to create a path parameter. So path parameter app.get blog of ID definition get. I will take that. Okay, I will paste as a different method. Now it is got refreshed. So I want to use blog. Okay, so in the same API without here, so I will pass blog slash 1. Okay, blog slash 1. When I hit, see message blog ID is 1. If I pass 2, I can handle 2. Now we executed our first path parameter with different values, right? Let's understand how it is implemented. First part is from FastAPI, import FastAPI. So we begin by importing the FastAPI class and creating a main application instance that we did. Then we have add path parameter. The root includes a dynamic path parameter called ID. So you are able to see here path parameter, we have ID. Okay, enclosed in curly braces. Yes, ID is enclosed in flower brackets or curly braces, which is captured in the function argument. Okay, so client request a user visits the specific endpoint with a value, for example blog of 25, triggering the FastAPI application. So same way in the postman, if I add 25 with the blog URL, so when I hit, see, blog ID is equal to 25. In our code, we got blog ID is 25. Same way we are getting. So FastAPI automatically extracts the value 25 from the URL and assign it to the ID argument. The function executes, returning the JSON response. Okay. In our code, return message blog of ID is whatever ID we are printing, that will be printed and written as message blog ID is 25. This is how our path parameter is created using FastAPI. Now understand what path parameter and we implemented. Let's understand why path parameters are useful. Without path parameters, this quickly becomes impossible to maintain. We have only 4 blocks here, it is okay. If I have millions of blocks, how we can maintain? We can't handle billions of roots. But rather than that, with path parameters, we can block of ID, one root can handle millions of blocks. That's why we need path parameter. This makes APIs cleaner, reusable and easier to maintain. Let's have another example, users. Okay, so app.users and user ID. Let's take that method. I will take this method and go here, add the parameter. So app.get users user ID. So base URL we already know. Which is the base URL? We have to get that. So we'll ready, we need to change users and user ID we need to pass. Rather than blog, I will add users. So user ID I will send as 2521. It is my user ID. If I send this and when you hit this, you are able to see here user 2521. So if you want to have 2522 212, that is also accessing we have. So user with the user ID. So two path parameters function we wrote. So another example, let's understand that. So we have definition get user ID. So it will extract a user ID and printing the user ID using users. This is another example. So till now we saw only single parameter, right? Next we will see multiple path parameter. A root can have more than one path parameter. So if you request response like this, FastAPI captures each value separately. Let's implement. So user ID we have. So we'll take this in our example and I will explain what happens. So single user ID we have. See here, users user ID, orders order ID. So with variable value, what we need to do? Let's understand that part. We need to pass, we need to call. So users /5 orders /18. Okay, output will be user and order. Let's try that. So users already we took 25212. So for our example, what it is telling, so users is 5 / orders is /18. So multiple parameters. So users is one path parameter, orders is another parameter. The values are 5 and 18. So when I hit, the output will be like user is 5, order is 18. So we can have multiple parameters in our example. Okay. So multiple parameter. A root can have more than one path parameter. So FastAPI captures each value separately and we saw the results like this, user 5, order 18, calling the path parameter like this. Okay, that's it for today's lesson. Today we learned what path parameters are, why they are important, how to create dynamic routes in FastAPI, and how to work with single and multiple path parameters. I encourage you to try the examples we covered today and experiment with different URLs to see how path parameters work. So, in the next video, we will continue from here and learn how FastAPI validates path parameters automatically. and how it handles different data types. If you found this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe to support the channel. So, I am Punyakeerthi BL and this is the FastAPI for Generative AI series video. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video. Happy coding!